what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Roxora, and yep, we're doing this again. These tend to be magic, topics when I make these. I was gonna do a little bit of Lorcana discussion, as we have some new stuff coming out, but we had bigger news come out for Magic just today. So again, I wanted to do this, and usually when I don't have a lot of time, this is what I end up doing. It's this or nothing, so take it or leave it. And yeah, we've got I don't really actually remember what they call themselves, but the Commander Now Committee has now released their bracket system that they announced that they were going to release all those times ago. What is going on up here? Sorry, I am not sure what's going on up here, but oh, it's a red light. Okay. It's like I want to make sure I was in the right lane. So yeah, they released their bracket system where they are categorizing cards and strategies and whatnot that they deem appropriate for the given levels. And then they released something else which we'll talk about. And so there's a lot of mixed opinions here. And I want to be clear that I'm talking about this and I'm going to be critical, but I don't want it to sound like, oh, I was against this system from the beginning. Because I think, looking at it, how they have it now, there actually are some interesting things about the system. It's just the execution and some of the particular details. So I looked at a graphic. I'm not going to put the graphic up, but they have a graphic where they have the 5 categories and the details. I'm blanking on its introductory or something like that as the first tier. And this is kind of meant to be like the pre-con tier, or the lowest power level tier. Right? They talk a lot about not having any infinite combos. I think they talk about no land destruction. So they're very much against things like land destruction. They talk about that, but they also talk about something that they called game changers. So I think they included zero game changers in that type of deck or that type of tier. And you might be asking the question, okay, what's a game changer? We'll get to that in a moment. The second tier was I want to say core, right, where you have a little bit more. It might be what we'd call an altered precon of some kind, and that would be right. That would be a couple, maybe 1 or 2 cards. I think they said from the game changers lists, but still no tutors, no land destruction, and all those kinds of things. And that's kind of what you would expect, right? Maybe you just take a precon and add a couple of cards to it. And okay, cool. I'm gonna make a little turn here. Right, so that's all well and dandy, and then you move on to the optimized tier, and in the optimized tier, excuse me. Then you get into, okay, maybe you can have a couple of cards from the game changers lists, and maybe you have some. Oh, they also mentioned extra turn spells, right? So in the previous tiers, right, either 0 or maybe 1 extra turn card. And again, the point when you go to an optimized list is again, still trying to not chain those cards together or anything like that. And again, that's totally fine. Again, those are the different kind of tiers. By the way, sorry about the lighting. The tiers there, right? You can go, okay, cool. You can have an optimized list where you have, again, you build around your commander and you have a lot of cards that work well with your commander, and maybe you have a couple of just kind of generically powerful cards. Okay, cool. And then the 2 highest tiers, again, which one of my friends, or friend of the channel, Professor Amateur, was kind of critical about. The 2 top tiers are the same in that, what are they doing? No, they're just saying hi. I was like, who's honking? A lot of stuff happens on Florida roads, as you can see. So the fourth tier, the fourth highest, or second highest tier, is the high-powered category, and the highest is CEDH, which again, as you might guess, me and a lot of the other people who engage with CEDH are actually really happy to see some acknowledgement there. Again, doesn't actually change anything in terms of what CEDH is going to be like, right, it just means, hey, they are acknowledging that, like, that is the highest power level. That's what it means. Yeah, you should go. You should go if you can. Okay, I'm just gonna go as well. Alright. Boy, it is bright. Let's see if that helps. So yeah, so the highest, the highest tier being CEDH is really nice to see them acknowledge it as that, and but so then the big thing is that they did not add any kind of differentiation between those two. They talk a little bit more in the description, which I can talk about a little bit right now, and then I'll talk about the game changers, because that's really the thing that I want to talk about. Let's see. So I forget how they, really the only difference is that there's no bars, there's no, you're allowed land destruction, you're allowed all the tutors, you're allowed all the cards, and then they specify, like, hey, there's no difference from this than the ban list, right? So still using the ban list, just not really paying attention to any type of cards that you don't want to run, right? Just trying to win the game. And so, again, the question becomes, what is the difference between high-powered and CEDH? And that's a really good question to ask. Again, usually when you talk about high-powered, you're trying to play, again, with no bars, but maybe you're still trying to play some of the decks that you enjoy, or the cards that you enjoy, and so maybe there's a little bit of picking and choosing there, or I don't want to say sub-optimization, because they're still trying to be optimal, but you're trying to still do something in particular, even if that thing is not the tippy-toppiest way to win the game. Whereas with CEDH, right there you go, is a little bit more of, and they talk about this in their descriptions and articles. This is more of a mindset, which really like. Again, it shows that they're they know a little bit about what kind of CEDH, and I know they have some CEDH people on the committee, so that really is the difference. In practice, it often ends up being that any particular deck that has like kind of a breakout, or is a new card that gets released, and looks exciting, but maybe doesn't end up being quite good enough for the CEDH metagame, often ends up just becoming high powered. So a great example of that would be like Narset in Enlightened Exile, right? Which I would argue is still CEDH, but also maybe if you're not going turbo him, or if you maybe just want to play it at the high powered level, you still could. There's other cards like that. I'm trying to think of some of the older commanders, like Mono Blue Teferi, Urza Lord High Artificer. What are other good examples? Was it Minskin Boo, right? Various of these commanders that are quite powerful, and if they're built optimally, are probably not healthy to play against, kind of just people who are playing optimal decks, because they kind of, do some pretty astounding things when they are doing their thing, right? So that would be good examples of, like, hey, these are some cards or decks that probably belong at the high-powered level, but not quite make the cut at the CEDH level, and that's okay, right? And again, that's the whole point of the tiers, is to kind of create these environments where everyone can kind of play the deck that they want at the level that they want, and have a good time. So now my main issue. So sorry, I should say, if that was all they announced and that was kind of all they did, I guess in terms of just categorizing those tiers and kind of describing them, I would have actually been fairly fine with it, and I still kind of am. But the biggest thing is this game changers list that I think a lot of people have an issue with. So the game changers list is these list of powerful cards that again are meant to kind of, I don't know, denominate how powerful your deck is, or I don't really know. At least that's what I would have thought. But yeah, what this is essentially now meaning is more, more of these are cards that you really shouldn't put in your deck, or we'd like you to not put in your deck unless you're playing at the high-powered or CEDH level. Which again, if that's the case, that's fine. But again, or only in small numbers, right? You only get a couple of the cards at the core or optimized level, at least from what I remember from the graphic. So, okay, what is on this list? Again, it's just cards like Thassa's Oracle, Underworld Breach, Force of Will, Deflect, or not, sorry, what is a green card on the list? There's not a lot of green and red cards on the list. And then there's some things like, what are the white cards? I actually don't remember. I don't remember the full list. There might have, again, been some land destruction cards and things like that. What else was on the list? Vorinclex, that was a green card on the list. Jin-Gitaxias. So not necessarily CEDH level cards, but cards that are, quite powerful when they enter play. And then they also this leads to, they specified that this list also kind of serves as a watch list in terms of bans. So they mentioned specifically that Nadu would have been put on the Game Changers list and then would have been banned. And then kind of also they talk about vice versa, which is nice, that if they decide to unban a card, they might put it on the Game Changers list, and then then that card is still kind of in a middle of the pack space, and that can kind of be a good place for that. That I don't necessarily mind. What I kind of don't like is that, again, the list is quite arbitrary. I'll also add Jeska's Will is on the list. I disagree very much with that. That card is just value. Like the One Ring is on the list, which I like. I like that card being on the list. But Jeska's Will is just a value, like a value card for red. I really don't see an issue with that card. Again, it's unless you're using it in a deck that is like trying to storm off, and then it's, yes, of course it's powerful, but there's plenty of other powerful ritual effects. It's just like, yeah. So, there's some things like that. And then there's also, they talk about, in the other rankings, there's, again, Professor Amateur adeptly pointed out the issue that they specifically are hosing against infinites or 2-card combos. They don't necessarily talk about 3-card combos or other things like that, where, they still end the game, but maybe they're a little bit more difficult to assemble, and it's like, how do you quantify a 2-card combo versus a 3-card combo? Is, Glenhorn Buccaneer, right? That's all a 2-card combo, but it's with your commander. Then you have, again, the 3-card combo of like Malcolm, Reckless Spireweaver, and, the mutation cards, or, any kind of shapeshifter effect. So then there's the question of like, okay, is that a 3-card combo? Or is that a 2-card combo? Or what? So there's all of these issues. Because that's not necessarily the part that I disagree with. Again, it's just this arbitrary list of game changers that, again, I don't think really accomplishes much. again, I think the general plan of, hey, let's categorize, these different things and maybe incentivize people to not go as ham in the first three categories, I think really is it. I'm okay with them, I guess, maybe again categorizing some problematic cards, but I think, again, just the execution isn't there. And again, this is just the first part, so again, I'm giving them a little bit of slack, but I'd really like to figure out exactly what the list of game changers is meant to accomplish. I guess that's my big thing, is like, what is that list there for, besides just saying, hey, we might ban these cards. I actually, again, as I said, I don't mind that. I agree that, like, having a kind of like the situation that happened with Dockside, Extortionist, Manic Crypt, and Jeweled Lotus, if those cards had been put on the Game Changers list and people went, oh, hey, casual players, like, maybe we should stop playing this, and then seed age players or people who own the cards maybe go, oh, hey, they might ban this at some point. Maybe we sell these off and proxy them, or whatever you decide to do is just a nice thing as kind of an advance notice of a potential ban, instead of what happened, again with the Dockside and all of those bans, and all of a sudden, people are out a whole bunch of money. So that I don't mind as much. That I'm fairly in support of, is having a type of watch list. But if the watch list is also going to be like, hey, don't play these cards, or only play a couple of these cards, what does that mean? I'd also add that, again, this is essentially like limiting cards. Again, people who are familiar with Yu-Gi-Oh! Know about the limit system in that game, and people have talked about, oh, what if we did that in Magic? And, and also, by the way, Lorcana players have also talked about this. And I've had to explain, kind of the futility of that, in that, if you reduce the amount of times you see the card, it doesn't actually change the impact of the card when it's seen. So, right, if we're talking about, oh, you decide in Modern that Ragavan is busted, or, something like that, and you limit Ragavan to one copy per deck, now all of a sudden, if someone just goes turn one Ragavan, it feels even worse, because not only is it still powerful to play Ragavan on turn one, but also now hey, they drew the 1 of 60 in their in their opener, and and that's just insane. So so already you kind of see limiting cards, in my opinion, doesn't really accomplish anything. So if you kind of look at the Game Changers list almost as a limit system, yes, at the lower power tiers, you can only run a couple of these cards, but that doesn't really change the fact that when you play those cards, they're still quite powerful. Right? If you decide, hey, Vorinclex or whatever is a problematic card, okay, it's on the Game Changers list. People can only run one or two effects like Vorinclex, or types of cards like Vorinclex. Doesn't change the fact that Vorinclex can still be in their deck, and they can still play at that level, and when that card comes down, it's gonna mess up games. Again, I'm using Vorinclex here as an example, just because I don't like it. It's a particularly it prompts a visceral response for me, just because I don't like big dumb green creatures, and it's kind of like a weird green creature in that it like both doubles mana and is also stacks, and it's just a wild card to me. Not in terms of like I think it should be banned, it's just like I don't really enjoy playing against it at the lower powered. So I agree, like, it's a problematic card, but again, just telling people, oh, hey, if you decide to run Vorinclex, you can only run it plus 1 or 2 more cards from this list, that doesn't really make me feel better. So, anyways, that's just how I feel about the Game Changers list so far. Again, that might change, and again, a lot of those cards, hopefully casual players just don't really end up playing anyways, but again, we'll see. We really haven't had too much of that. I also haven't been to a Commander event like a Magic Con or something like that in quite a while. I'd look forward to that. you know, and be excited to kind of test out how exactly that works. They mentioned, I think that like they're gonna have like almost like areas where, you know, in area A, right, it's, you know, core decks, and in area B, it's, you know, another high powered or right or whatever. And that would be pretty cool. And I think if that system ends up working well, that would be a really nice thing for people to have. So yeah, so anyways, that's kind of most of my thoughts. I just wanted to come in and, you know, again, there are elements of the system that I don't mind, or I quite like and can resonate with. And then there is, again, there's just this list of, you know, it to me, it feels like a limiting system, a limit system that doesn't really accomplish much for me. And again, we'll see how it works out. Again, very, very early. So again, I hope I don't sound too critical. Again, I wanted to give my thoughts, and yeah, let me know what you guys think. You guys excited for how, you know, any other changes that might be coming? Any other ideas, any other cards that you think should be on the list, or kind of ideas for maybe how else they could use the game changer list? Yeah, that's my thoughts. If you enjoyed my, again, drive from work, you know, and these things, I'd be surprised. Again, I only do this when I absolutely have to. So I hope you guys still enjoy it. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, and I will hopefully be back to making regular content very, very soon. All right, guys, we'll see you in the next video.